Hey guys, R1 here. We recently had a new event that Gaijin created for us called the Breakthrough event. Breakthrough in Poland, I believe, is its full title. And it's rather unique. I don't know if you took the time to actually try playing this event, but if you did not, then this video should show you what unique features this event contained. And I think that perhaps this was an experiment. One issue that I have had with some of these newer maps is that they are so large that it is very, very easy to spend most of your time actually trying to get to the combat, and you actually have very little time to participate in it. And if you happen to get sniped right off the bat, since it's on a point system, you could spend a whole lot of time first at the waiting screen, then trying to get across the map, and then you die after, really no time at all in combat, and then you don't have enough points to respawn, so you're back to the waiting screen again. Or if you did have enough points to respawn in a different vehicle, then you had to spend all that time traveling again. Well, in the Breakthrough event, as you can see, there are a number of random spawn points behind me, and the two bases start out relatively close together on the Poland map in the town. Now, if you watch carefully, when we take this base, the actual capture point for the enemy team then moves back closer to their spawn points. And this is the point that most people don't catch, and one of our spawn points appears much closer to the action, and that's the spawn point that generally you are generated at from that point on. It very nicely simulates the moving and shifting lines of combat in an actual battle. The front line actually gets pushed back closer to the enemy supply lines and their base of operations. It becomes a little easier for them to defend, but then again, it also is easier for us to spawn. From a game perspective, we spawn closer to that point as well, so there's not this huge amount of time spent traveling. I like it just because of that aspect. Yes, I don't like to spend a whole huge amount of time traveling to get to combat. And I do like the atmosphere that it creates of shifting lines of combat. I think that's very realistic. Of course, the same holds true for the enemy team as well. When they take our base, now you'll see it's generated back by our origin point, and they can spawn closer. Our two spawn points now are actually relatively close together, just on either side of the town. So, all in all, I like this mechanic. I like it a lot, and I would like to see it become incorporated into a large number of maps. I think it should become a standard part of our gameplay. Let me know in the comments section if you agree or disagree with this. To me, it solves a lot of problems and adds a very nice level of immersion. Now, as you can see, we have taken each other's capture points. I had gotten concerned more about defense than offense in this case. I was concerned that there was a strong presence over where our base used to be, and I have moved from one side of the town to the other to go back and deal with that before they are able to mount an offensive on our second spawn point. If they take that, and then we're pretty much hosed. So I've left part of my team behind to act as an aggressive force to put pressure on their spawn point and to hopefully advance on their base, while I come over here to deal with the defense of ours. I've just gotten to where the enemy is holding this ridge, and as I get up here, I realize that the situation is actually perhaps a little worse than I anticipated. I missed that first shot and take a nasty return hit as well, and he's got friends up here. And that's going to do me some damage. It's going to mess up my gun, and I'm going to have to pull back to rearm and actually to repair. So fortunately, I have these fence lines here, and I also have these buildings here to provide cover. And I've got enough teammates here that they can deal with those gentlemen up on the ridge line while I'm busy hopping out of my SU-122 and instituting some quick emergency repairs. One of the reasons why I chose to abandon my previous position was the fact that this SU-122 does actually cover ground fairly quickly, and that's a nice attribute of the vehicle. And I had a nice convenient road to follow to bring me around the outskirts of the town into this position fairly quickly. Fortunately, my repair doesn't take very long, and you'll notice elements of my team already moving forward onto that ridge line, and they have opened fire on something in the distance. So apparently my assumption was correct, that there is a strong push coming in this direction. Now I am a little worried that the push is going to sweep around our left flank and head for the base from their forward spawn point. But I've committed to this course of action, and traveling back again would just be a further waste of time. So I'm going to try and get some long-range shots in on these two vehicles that are approaching. And I have managed to do some damage to one with the splash damage from this high explosive shell. This gun is similar to the one on the KV-2. It has a high trajectory, a slow traveling shell, but it does immense damage, even splash damage, at the other end. And that has certain uses, as in firing over this ridge line without exposing myself to incoming fire. However, it is very, very difficult to accurately judge the ranges necessary to land good hits on a moving target like these fellows are. There was a corresponding tank destroyer from our team on that ridge line, and it just got taken out. So I'm going to have to be very careful now. Perhaps I'll have better luck when we close to closer range. They are making for the cover of the castle and are attempting to come around the lake on that side. But I do notice that I have somebody here acting as eyes for them. A Panzer IV F2, and it is firing on one of my other teammates that is pushed in advance of the rest of us, but he's not paying any attention to me, and that proves to be his undoing. Now I have to pull back. They're getting uncomfortably close, and I have a long reload time, so I'm displaying a great deal of caution at this point. The last thing I want is to expose myself to their fire and have no shell ready to return fire with. It looks like we have one target that has pushed forward and one that has hung back to provide supporting fire, which is smart. I'm going to have to watch it and keep that castle between me and him. See if I can get this shot lined up on the fly. Oh, that was kind of lucky, but I got him anyway on the bounce. And now I need to move quickly. That gentleman on the other side of the castle is going to have a good line of fire on. My reload is going fairly well, so I'm going to creep back around here, keep my armor angled toward the enemy, and see if I can get back in a good position to fire from. He's also receiving fire from other teammates of mine, which proves to be fortunate. That went right over the rear of his tank. So close. One of the hard things to remember with this vehicle sometimes is to remember that although you have good frontal armor, it's not impervious. It does have its weak points, and you have to think defensively. Oh good, they got him with an artillery strike. You have to think defensively. You always have to plan for the reload. You get yourself out there and miss. Don't count on your armor to keep you alive the entire time you're reloading. It's unlikely that that's going to happen. The enemy will probe and find your weak points, and you will end up dead very quickly. In the distance is a German flak truck. We'll get his range. And overshot him by quite a bit. So as I reload, I'm not too terribly worried. He's not being very accurate. He's not judging his range very well. It's difficult in one of those vehicles. I'm going to lead him. Bring the gun down. Booyah. I just needed a near hit. You can see the splash damage took him out in the kill cam. By the way, I love that kill cam. That really helps in a lot of situations. I know some people are a little disturbed that it's included in realistic and simulator battles, but I'll admit it, from a game perspective, it provides a bit of an advantage. You can tell from that little picture-in-picture that pops up if you've just barely clipped him, if you need to bring your point of aim down a little bit because you clipped his turret, or if you need to bring it up a little higher because you just dinged his tracks. It is an advantage, yes. An advantage that you wouldn't have in a realistic or a simulator battle. In a real situation, yes, that is also true. But you also don't have some of the advantages that these tank crews would have had in a real battle too. Forward spotters relaying you accurate information about where your shots are hitting. You have to rely on what you can visually see with the obstructions of smoke and terrain not working in your favor. And yes, I know not all combat units had radio communications and forward spotters, but you know what? It is a game. And if you want to simulate realistic combat that close to reality, without any consideration for the fact that it is a game and it's meant to be fun, well, I'm sorry guys, go enlist. I want to have fun with this. I do want a realistic experience, yes. I want to feel like I'm there, but I also recognize that it's a simulated experience that makes some allowances to the fact that it's a video game. I really don't want the experience of actually being there, blowing people apart, freezing my butt off, starving half the time. No, thank you. I can do without certain aspects of realism to have a good and enjoyable game session. Anyway, I didn't mean that to slam people that like large amounts of realism in this game. I think that large amounts are fine, but let's not forget that it is a game. And my respects intended to anyone that feels differently. I don't mean to say that your point of view is inherently wrong. It's not. But I just don't happen to subscribe to that school of thought. Anyway, that's the match. It ended up pretty good for us. I really like this event, and I like how the spawn points and capture points move to simulate the ebb and flow of battle in this point. It's a great game solution to simulating a realistic battle. And I think Gaijin are onto something here. Let's hope that it ends up being incorporated in every battle that we play. Or at least in most of them, particularly the ones on the larger maps. Well, either way, have a good one, guys. And until I see you again, good hunting.